Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Dream series. This is gonna be an ongoing series on this channel, for now at least. I would like to do this series. And in this first video, we're gonna have one scripted dream. I'm gonna basically read. I said scripted because I wrote it down, like the description of it, so I can actually read it so it makes sense. And I also have a bonus nightmare, you could say. I don't have that many interesting nightmares, to be honest, because a lot of them I recognize to be nightmares and then I just wake up. So there's nothing really scary that happens. But this one actually caught me off guard. So these kind of nightmares I'm gonna be talking about in this series as well. So it's not gonna be just happy dreams. It's also gonna be nightmares. And I also want to have this kind of an introduction where I'll basically say some things about something that you need to know going into this. First, it's probably not gonna be that interesting. I highly doubt dream stories are interesting. This is more about like a thing for me to remember dreams even better, hopefully, by saying them out loud in front of the microphone and then having the videos of them. And there's also this thing, when I was younger, I used to practice lucid dreaming. Basically, the thing that you control dreams. Basically, that's lucid dreaming, controlling dreams and like being more aware inside your dreams and making them more realistic or whatever. Essentially, I did this when I was younger because I found it to be very fun. In dreams, I could maybe basically force myself to fly or give myself God mode from Oblivion or kill everything around me with commands and shit like that. Essentially, I was basically very powerful in my own dreams, and that was going on for quite a long time. That I was doing the lucid dreams and that whole thing. After a while, of course, after years and years, I stopped because I didn't care that much about it anymore. But in my dreams, I oftentimes still have some kind of powers, or I'm basically invincible, unless it's a nightmare, because the only thing that makes you vulnerable inside your own dreams is fear. Fear is the only thing that can basically nullify all of your powers and any logic in a dream. Like, you could be flying away from a monster and the monster would start flying towards you even though it doesn't have wings or any other way to fly. It doesn't make any sense, but it's still going to do that because, well, you're afraid and essentially you're screwed. So don't be surprised when you hear that in my stories I freaking pull off a Kamehameha. Ugh, that's not the way to pronounce it, but you know what I mean, the Dragon Ball Z move. I pronounced it wrongly because I haven't watched that show in such a long time. And I forgot, to be honest, what's the right pronunciation. Doesn't matter. So first off, I'll start with the dream. I'll just read it out and then I'll comment on it. And then I'll do the nightmare and also comment on it. These videos are obviously not going to be as long as the other videos. And I'm going to have probably some kind of a gameplay in the background if I can make it work that way. Some random game. But now, let's get started with the first dream. The killer whale dream, that's what I called it. So yeah, let's get going. The first dream takes place on a beach. Specifically, it takes place in a monastery that is built on the side of the cliff. It was wooden and it touched the water. As it's not very high on the cliff, it's more down to the bottom near water. A friend of mine was also in this dream with me. We were both young children, orphans, and the nuns that lived in that monastery were taking care of us and some other kids. Of course, there was the other children I just mentioned. In the monastery had a wooden walking trail that went all around the monastery and the other building, which I assume was the dorm building, and there was even a part of it that was so low it was underwater, about a little bit more than ankle height. My friend and I were walking down this trail towards the dorm, and we were approaching the part that was the underwater when we noticed a killer whale, or an orca if you want, that was looking at us from a little further in the water. Suddenly the whale started charging us and ramming into the wooden trail, which basically had poles underneath that went to the bottom, and that's how it was standing there. And the board squeaked. We started to run the other side towards the monastery, where other children were fishing and swimming. The whale slammed into the part of the trail we were on, and we got flung into the ocean. We panicked, of course, and knowing that the wooden trail has basically no longer was an option, and it wasn't safe, obviously, because we were on it and we got screwed. So we yelled to the other children to run inside the monastery and started swimming towards the shore since the wooden trail wasn't safe. Luckily, we made it there before the killer whale got us. It was basically charging through water, but like on the surface, not really under the surface, so we could see him all the time, not just his fin like you see in movies, because it's dream logic, I guess. And soon after that, when we relaxed a bit, we returned to the monastery where the nun was waiting. She blamed me and my friend for the damage that was done to the structures, and she also said that one of the kids was missing, that it was likely that the kid was taken by the whale, ate him, you know. So I got pissed off because she was accusing me, and I didn't like that. And the whale was still around, swimming around the bay. So I jumped into the water and rushed the whale, opening his jaws with my bare hands and pulling the kid out. He was still in one piece, he was still alive, and I brought him back to the wooden trail and checked if he was alright, and then I soon woke up. I don't know how this take was of this dream. Basically, that was the end of the dream right there, because I woke up after that. So I want to mention a couple of things about this. First, of course, I connect the dots within the dream. The dream is not like a one thing. You sometimes move from one scene to another, from one location to a completely different one. So in these kind of descriptions, I'm going to try to make dreams at least make sense. Essentially, the dream happened in this monastery that was entirely wooden, surrounded by a wooden trail that was made with boards and had like pillars going towards the bottom. And there was even a part of the trail that was like bent towards water. It was below the sea level, and that was like the part me and my friend were walking towards before the whale attacked. Now the whale was just a normal killer whale. It wasn't freaky or anything, but it's still scary when you see, especially to me, I don't like sharks and like these kind of sea creatures that can really mess you up and kill you. And essentially we got tossed into the water, a real nightmare scenario, but I guess I wasn't afraid enough for it to get out of hand. We swam for the shore, which was a sandy beach, and the part of the dream where I open the whale's mouth with my bare hands, like I said, there's often going to be things like that. And even this is relatively normal compared to what some of the things I do in other dreams. And why I didn't do that immediately, if you're wondering, because it's a dream. And dreams, you don't often think straight. You're just there, part of it. At least that's how it works for me. Hope you enjoyed the dream. Hopefully I didn't read it terribly. I'm not gonna redo this, even though this is the, I think, third time I read this script, so it's not like I wrote it, then I read it, and then I read it again, and now I read it before this video, before I recorded it. This is the only episode that's gonna have so much additional conversation behind the dreams. Of course, these videos, like I said, are gonna be shorter. Like right now, it's like 8 minutes long, and there's still one more dream I would like to talk about, which is a nightmare, in which I didn't use any absurd powers. So here we go. Essentially, this nightmare starts at my grandparents' house, which is situated on a small side street. I live in a small town, so there's not a lot of traffic, and that street basically sees no traffic at all. And I was leaving my grandparents' house on a bike. It was winter. I know that because there was a lot of snow around, and the kids were playing, building snowmen, all that good shit. And I was going out of this side street into another street, which was slightly more important street, but it was still some kind of a side street, not the main road. And in this street, I drove through it. It went left of my grandparents' side street, and when I got to the end of it, it merges with the main road, which is one of the main roads in the city, and I turned right. Going all the way up, there's a small hill, and on this small hill there was a kid. He had a skateboard in his hand, and there was a cop next to him, like scolding him for something, like he was probably driving on the road or something. I'm not sure, I didn't care, I just passed by, and once I passed the kid and the cop and got to the top of the hill, there's a turn where you can turn left. Oh, not left, right, sorry. You can turn right, and that's basically the street that leads to my house. But then I remembered that our house got destroyed. I don't know how that happened. And that I was supposed to go and check out a new house we were going to buy. It was a shitty house, but we didn't have much money, and we didn't want to live at our grandmother's because we didn't want to burden her with us being there, even though she's a good person and she doesn't mind for sure. So I went back down, and there's a turn right before the street I mentioned, that side street, not the one that my grandparents are in, but the other one. There's a turn to another side street, which is gravel, is it? I think it is gravel street. So, but it was all snow You could barely see the street because there were like tracks where the cars passed. And I was going down this street, and there's a playground there to the left, and there was a lot of children and their parents playing in the snow. I passed them and got to another cross section. No, it's not cross section. What's it called? Basically, a place where you can go multiple ways on a road. And I went straight, which leads to a side street that has a really steep hill, like really steep. Basically, getting up there with a bike during the winter was impossible, so I had to get off my bike and walk all the way up there. And then there was an additional, even steeper, like a little trail, but it was made of like decorative stones, and it had like two little, I don't know, cemented edges. They were about, I'd say, like 30-40 centimeters high. Basically, the frames of the. It looked like stairs when you see stone stairs, but there wasn't stairs. It was just straight. I mean, it was pretty steep, and I had to walk while grabbing onto one of the sides so I don't slip. And I got to the top, and there it was, the house. The house was, it was very small, like what you see in like Russian villages, like where babushkas live. You know, a small house with probably like 4 or 5 rooms in there. The entire facade of the house was basically deteriorating. You could see the water damage. The bottom of the facade was like completely torn, and the paint was falling over, and the roof was like caved in. It wasn't like completely broken, but it was caved in, and the chimney was a bit tilted. The house also had a fence in front. It was just one of those ridiculously small fences, and it had a door, but what the hell, you can basically just walk over the fence. I don't know why people get this kind of fences that you can just basically walk over. What's the point of the fence then, if someone can just walk over it? But whatever. I opened the tiny doors and went towards the main door, the front door of the house, where I had a key because I was supposed to check this house out. There was not like a real estate agent or anyone that was showing us the house. We basically got the keys and were sent to check it out ourselves, and then returned the keys later on, I guess. And I opened the door and was greeted by what I could call like a living space / kitchen / dining area. It had like an entrance area where there was like the coat hanger, and it was like there was a few pairs of shoes on the floor. I didn't take off my shoes because I didn't care much about that. The floor was like it was wooden, but it was that thin wood layers you put on your floor, and it was completely wrecked. It was like paled out, and it was peeling in places. It looked terrible. And right in front of me there was like this circular thing on the wall that had like a lid, and you would basically put the key in there, so you'd know where the key is to the house at all times. So I opened that thing up and put the key in and started looking around. The room had like chandeliers, but they were like very cheap chandeliers. They were hanging pretty low. Like if I tried to walk under them, I would hit my head. There was a few doors that lead to different rooms. One of the rooms was open. That was the one in front of me. It was like a bedroom type of deal, but it was really small, cramped. The closet was terrible condition. It was like falling apart. And there was a cover on the bed, and it was also like paled out and like almost like blackish in places, like someone spilled oil on it or something. I didn't like the feel of the house. It was really creepy. But I was there, so I might as well check it out. To the right of me, I opened the door. It was the bathroom. It was just like a small shower and a toilet. Basically, there was not even a washing machine, which sucked. The kitchen was a couple of cupboards and elements like that. Similar furniture that was also like the doors were hanging low. It was clearly broken. If we were going to take this house, we would be better off just demolishing it and building a new house on top of it, because it was in that kind of a condition. And there was one more door, and this door had a glass window type of thing, which had like a wooden board in the middle, a thin board, basically separating the window into 2 small windows, but they were still pretty big. If I had to tell, the entire window was around 1 meter tall, maybe a little bit more even. It was a pretty big window, and on the other side I could see the curtains. So there was a window and curtains, which again doesn't make much sense, but it's dream. Let's get on with it. I opened up these doors, and it was like another bedroom, a small bedroom, It had a bed and a working table where I guess a computer could stand. There was a small lamp, again, some kind of a closet, but it was also pretty bad shape. And overall, the house had a pretty creepy vibe to it. It was torn down, it was old, it was creaky, and I wanted to get the hell out of there because I was creeped out and I wanted to leave. I was afraid a bit now. So I took the key, left the house, and locked the doors behind me. And essentially, I started cycling back down the hill towards the playground because I knew my mother was gonna be joining me so shortly, to check out the house. That's the deal. We were supposed to meet at the house, but I started going towards her because I didn't feel like standing next to that creepy house. And I met her when I got down the hill. The way to the playground is also down the hill. It's not a really steep hill or anything, that one, like the one from the side street. So that's where I met my mother. She was coming up the trail, and now there was no snow, there was no people. It was muddy, so I don't know how it melted so fast, but it's a dream, so again, dream logic. And I told her as I was coming towards her that there's no point of her going up there, that the house is shitty and it's broken down, and that we are not buying that, no freaking way. Even if it's cheap, it's not worth it at all. But she said, I'm already here, like almost there. I'm just gonna go check it out. If you want, you don't have to go with me. But I was like, what else am I gonna do? So I turned around my bike. My mother was some way ahead of me because she didn't wait for me to catch up. She just continued going towards the steep hill of the side street and towards the house. And when I finally caught up with her, she parked her bike before the stair, not the stairs, but the part that was steep and had the decorative stones and concrete sides. And she parked her bike in front of that and was already halfway up the thing. It wasn't as slippery when I was as when I was climbing it. As we got to the top, when I got to the top, that is, she already opened the small gates, and she was already in the house, which surprised me because I had the only key to the house. She did not have the key, and I definitely locked the doors. So I thought, what the hell? How did she open the doors? Maybe I didn't lock them properly. Whatever. Let's go inside. And I stepped inside, and my mother was already checking out the house and was looking at the bathroom, I think. And I walked in and I looked around and was like, what the hell happened here? How the hell did she enter at all? And I noticed that the doors that had the window in it and the curtains were ajar. They were open to a certain degree. I'd say around 40% open, 30% open, which I definitely didn't leave open myself. I closed them for sure, and I remembered that. So I asked my mom, oh, did you already check out that room? And she said no. And I said, I definitely closed that room. And then I heard a weird scream coming from that room. And what came out, I can only describe as a doll, a child-sized doll that had no hair. It didn't have, it had eyes, but they were sunken or something. They looked weird. And it screamed at us and started running towards us. I don't think it had any clothes on itself. I mean, it's a doll. It didn't have any private parts or anything. It started going towards us, and I told my mother to run outside, and she did, and I did right behind her, and we jumped the fence. And when we saw the baby doll come outside and squeeze at us even more and started rushing us, that's when I decided to turn around and face the baby and attack it. And soon after that, after I charged it, I woke up, probably out of fear, and basically because the baby jumped at me and I got scared, so I woke up. Now this nightmare, I know that when I retell it, I'm not a horror narrator, I cannot make things sound scary. I'm not good at that. Maybe in the future I'll get better at it, but I doubt it. Especially when I curse inside the stories, kind of makes them less scary. And this story was very long, and nothing happened for the most part. But that's how it is in nightmares. The thing happens at the end, and then you wake up. A lot of those nightmares you read about in this kind of horror narration style channels, I think they're mostly fake. They say that some kind of monster tears them to pieces and feasts on their meat, and they can still see that, which I find what? Once you get fucked up in a dream, you wake up. That's it. There's no more. Did I ever survive something like that in a dream? Yes. but it was only when I wasn't afraid, because then my powers would work. But if I was afraid and it was a nightmare and some monster chopped me into pieces, I would wake up immediately. So yeah, I don't know. Doesn't matter. What I want to say about this nightmare is that why it was scary for me personally is because it was so goddamn long. That's why. Because usually when you have a nightmare, usually it's short. Usually there's a sign to it. You can realize that it's a nightmare. The ones I don't usually realize is the ones that come out of the blue, like out of nowhere. You just everything's normal in a dream and then suddenly it gets fucked up. And this was kind of one of those nightmares, because I was driving my bike for so long and I even got to this creepy house, and I was in this creepy house, walking around, exploring it basically. I would expect, if it was a nightmare, to strike then, and I was in the creepy house, to be attacked by something and then wake up. But no, my brain was like, yeah, you can leave the house, the creepy house, and then I went downhill, met my mother, and went back up. And when I entered the house the second time is when that happened, when that doll thingy attacked us. So that's why it was scary. That's why it caught me off guard, because I didn't expect it to happen when I was there the second time. I don't know if you can relate to that or not. It doesn't really matter. If you don't like this series, I completely understand you, because I don't think it's gonna be that interesting, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Because I said I was going to do it, and I named my channel Ains Gaming and Dreams, specifically so I could have this series make sense within the dream. Within the channel, because I didn't want it to be like Ains Gaming and then I post dream videos. I wanted it to make sense. So yeah, I don't know how often I'll be doing these dream videos. I would have to start writing down my dreams again. I'll try to do that. Oftentimes when I wake up, I don't feel like it, because I'm tired and I don't feel like writing things down with a pencil or a pen. So oftentimes I don't write down my dreams, and I don't want to write down dreams that aren't that interesting either, that are like super short, because then what's the point? I'm just gonna tell a dream that's really short, like that whale dream was relatively short, but it was still long enough, I think, for a story to be made out of it. But there are some dreams that like I don't even remember anymore, because this dream journal, I started using it a long time ago, and I didn't do what you're supposed to do, which is read the journal basically every day. I didn't do that, because if you read every day, you recall those dreams better, and that's how that works. But perhaps I'll try to do that now. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too boring or ununderstandable. Like, I hope you could understand it, and I hope it was at least entertaining enough to keep your attention. And I'll see you in the next dream series. This one was 23 minutes long approximately. So yeah, goodbye and see you in the next episode.